Main questions that I get asked when talking about intermittent fasting is, isn't breakfast the most important meal of the day? And I understand why people ask it. The importance of breakfast has been drummed into our heads throughout our whole lives, but is it true, and is it okay to skip breakfast on an intermittent fasting plan? Well, one of the most common questions people ask is, don't I need breakfast for energy? And the answer to that is only if you rely on food at all times, which of course isn't true because we have this fantastic fat. Body fat is there to sustain us in times when food isn't available, like a reserve fuel tank. So when we fast, that fat is broken down and used for fuel. And when we have such an excellent source of fuel in the form of fat being transported to all the cells of the body, we're able to produce all the energy we need. And this is why those who try fasting and stick to it long enough for their bodies to adapt almost always report that they have more energy, feel less tired in the day, and have improved concentration and focus, which is something that really struck me when I started intermittent fasting some 6 years ago. Before that time, I thought it was totally normal to crash after lunch and spend the afternoon forcing myself to focus on the computer screen, but less than a week into fasting, I was able to work all day without losing focus or slowing down. So when you wake up in the morning, you're 8 to 10 hours into a fast, which means you're probably already burning body fat and would therefore have more than enough energy to carry you through to the start of your next eating window. But by eating breakfast, you would halt that process, causing your body to switch back over to burning the fuel in your food and storing any extra energy or calories as additional fat. So to answer the question, no, I don't need breakfast for energy. But isn't it natural for humans to eat breakfast? Well, before answering this one, it's important to remind ourselves that from a health perspective, the most natural way to eat is to eat as humans have been eating throughout our 200,000 plus year history. This is because we adapt to our environment over very long periods of time through a process called evolution, which means our bodies are essentially designed to work best if we eat as our ancestors did. So to go back to our question of, is it natural for humans to eat breakfast? Well, the question we should really be asking is, would our ancestors have adapted to eating breakfast every day? And the answer to that is quite clearly no, as they were hunter-gatherers who would have eaten only when food became available and would have been very familiar spending days or more surviving on their own body fat. In fact, if we were unable to do that as a species, we probably wouldn't be around today to talk about dieting. Now, even more clues can be found in the modern world, as the eating habits of indigenous hunter-gatherer groups like the Piraha people of the Amazon have now been extensively studied. The Piraha do not eat every day or even attempt to do so. They don't use food storage or cultivation techniques, and when asked why they don't store food for themselves, they explained, "I store meat in the belly of my brother." So clearly eating 3 meals a day isn't something that humans have been doing forever, and we almost certainly haven't had time to adapt to it. In Britain, it wasn't until the late 18th century that 3 meals a day became common practice, and as Abigail Carroll suggests in her book 3 Squares, The Invention of the American Meal, eating 3 meals a day was basically invented due to culture. So linking all this back to intermittent fasting, our ancestors would have taken on food sporadically, so skipping a meal and regularly going for extended periods of time without eating is far more in keeping with how our bodies are designed to function. But won't I be hungry all morning? This is another very common question, and again the answer is no. Hunger is regulated by messaging chemicals in the body called hormones, and in particular a hormone called ghrelin. Now, ghrelin is sensitive to the amount of energy that's available in the system and not how physically full the stomach is, which means when we have plenty of energy available, ghrelin levels decline and we don't experience hunger to the same extent. So when you wake, you're likely to be in a fat-burning state because it's already been 8 to 10 hours since you ate your last meal, meaning you should have plenty of energy available and hunger should be manageable. It is important to note, though, that if you've only just started intermittent fasting, your body may not yet have adapted to become an efficient fat burner, which can take some time, anywhere between a few days and a couple of months. This means that you could struggle with hunger or a lack of energy to begin with, but don't worry, soon enough you'll feel great and you'll wonder how you ever ate breakfast at all. Now, there is one other reason why some hunger might persist to begin with. The hunger hormone, ghrelin, follows cycles which adapt over time to your eating patterns. When you're used to eating breakfast, ghrelin will peak around breakfast time, causing you to feel hungry and triggering you to eat. The good news though is that these hormones go up and down whether you eat or not. So if you do feel hungry around your normal breakfast time, just wait, because in around half an hour the hormone levels will drop and your hunger will disappear. So to summarise, 3 meals a day is a modern invention and one that humans haven't yet had the time to adapt to. We don't need breakfast for energy as we have all the fat we need. We won't struggle too much with hunger because if we're burning fat, we have energy available, and it's a lack of energy that causes hunger. And remember, hunger is controlled by hormones which follow cycles. So if you do feel hungry, just wait a while and it'll go away. So that's it for this video. Please feel free to post your questions in the comments section below, and please do share this with a family member, friend, neighbour, or anyone you know of who's tried dieting before and just can't seem to keep the weight off. As always, I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.